Hi, I'm Arenma, and I'm here with New Wave, and I'm joined by a man who needs no introduction whatsoever. The man, the myth, the legend. I got Damon Dash with me. How you doing, sir?
Good, how you doing?
I can't complain. I can't complain. What's London been like for you? You haven't been here for over a decade, so what's it like to come back?
It's still fly, still swaggy. I always like London. That's why I had a crib out here.
Is there something you missed about London that you haven't seen since you've been here? And are there things that have changed about it that you've liked?
It's just like America. It's evolved, but it's still the same as far as like the fundamentals. You know, I love people's humor out here. You know, I like the architecture, the buildings a lot. I like the culture. You know, I'm sure things have changed, but the feeling that I have is still the same. Like I was happy that I still liked it as much as I did. You know what I mean? Like I was like, what if I still like London? But I still like London.
That's amazing. And I think you know very much so that London likes you as well. You're going to be here for the Be Inspired live event with Nicky Walker.
So I respect Nicky, you know, for doing things independently because I know what it is to actually do that. And he's doing it out here and he's doing a lot of it and he's capturing culture the same way. So, you know, that's what happens when like-minded people get together. They should be able to chop and chew.
What is it that you look for in another person? Do you look for yourself in other people when you go to work with them in that way? Or are there other things that you look for in a person that makes you gravitate to them?
It's how much focus and respect they have for their art. You know, if you respect your art, you generally have a respect for most things. But if you're trying to exploit the art and, you know, take shortcuts, you know, I generally won't respect you. I won't work with you.
How do you measure integrity versus good business?
For me, I don't consider myself a good businessman because business to me is people that will do anything for money. It doesn't matter. You know, it's not about integrity. It's about how much money you make. Almost to the extent that if you can rob somebody, even if you know them, you're obligated to do it. You know, and that I'm more about the art. So I become more of an artist. So if I was worried about money, I'd have more of it. You know what I mean? But, you know, for me, as long as I can keep creating and, you know, all my money goes into protecting my art and being able to create it unobstructed and having that freedom to feel good. But it's always, you know, it's always a fight. You know what I mean? People are always trying to steal. And what's funny is every time I catch somebody stealing, they accuse me of stealing. It's like the number one thing people do when thieves accuse people of being thieves.
Oh wow, that's a very interesting point you've made right there.
The court case I got is from someone trying to rob me and them trying to get at me before I get at them, and them lying on me because they just lied, period, and got caught.
You've managed to stay you so long, and I was watching an interview you did, and you made the point about going to other countries and trying to find the best way of living, and how was that kind of played into how you maneuver now?
Well, you know, we're born certain places because that's where our parents are. We didn't have a choice, but doesn't mean I'm staying there. So just because life was given to me at a certain place doesn't mean that's the one I choose. So I can't know which lifestyle I like until I go live them. So if I see an interesting lifestyle on television, like if I'm watching Yellowstone, then I'm gonna go get a crib in Wyoming, you know? Or if I'm watching something British, I'm gonna go to London. I'm gonna see, I got a crib at, you know, I lived in London. I like to see what it feels like. I've lived in Florida, I lived in North Carolina, South Carolina, China. Then after I actually sample all these different lives, then I can choose which one I want, not the one that's given to me. So I think it's important to go see the world so you can choose which part of the world you want to be in. Because nobody chains you to a block anymore. You got, you know, it's your choice to stay there.
That's very true. You do love to move around.
I'm looking for cool people. I'm looking for culture. I'm looking for like-mindedness. I'm always looking for a better way.
And, you know, when it comes to your self-sufficiency and in looking for that better way, there's a saying that no man is an island. However, you've managed to hold on to your independence this whole time, and I've seen you do it from helping others first before helping yourself. Sometimes things don't always go how you may have wanted them to go. So how do you carry on marching forward till this very day? Because the Dame Dash feeling is still there, to me anyway.
Well, I'm constantly inspired. There's things I want to do, and no one's going to pay for them but me. So I want to be a director. I want to have a clothing line. I want to have a comic book. I want to have a children's book. I want to have a magazine. I want to have a television network. Ain't nobody giving me that, but I want it. It actually inspires me. I enjoy actually being the person doing the art. You feel me? As long as I'm inspired, I think I'm going to keep an inspired energy. You know what I mean? And also, I appreciate life. I appreciate being healthy. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, I see what it look, you know, especially watching people with COVID and what it could do is like, you know, you see people that are healthy one day and then they're in the bed saying, if I could just get my breath back, there's so many things that I would do that I didn't do before. I don't want to ever be in that situation. I want to be like I did it all. And I appreciate the fact that I could, that I'm free and that I'm healthy, then I'm going to rock out the whole time. You know, it's too much fun to have, not to be having fun doing shit. Too many wars to fight for a general, you know what I'm saying? To sit around and take naps. We got shit to do.
As a general and talking about, you know, always going out and, you know, having things to do, you've got your fingers in many pies. One of them you mentioned was your brand CEO. You know, what traits does a true CEO have to have?
I mean, you got to lead by example. You know, I tend to like founders, people that have created the companies, not that just bought them and ran them. You know, you got to realize that your business is like your family and family comes first. But you also have to realize that if your company can't run without you, then you're not a good boss. So like, again, while I'm in London, all my dreams are being worked on in America because I got a staff. But if I didn't give them the right direction, if I wasn't a good boss, if I wasn't a person that knew how to give a certain kind of direction, I'd have to be there for them to do everything and tell them everything, which is like doing the work yourself. So it's knowing how to delegate and it's knowing how to get things done while other things are getting done. You know what I'm saying? You know, I've signed on consciously to be a starving artist for a little while. And that means paying for everything that you do, not raising money or having someone else pay for it and then relaxing. You know, I got to earn. I don't pay a bill unless something's sold, you know, and that keeps you active.
Speaking of active, you know, I want to talk about the Black Guns. Can you talk to me about what you've got going on over there?
Yeah, that's my therapy. So, you know, I say I'm a rock star, and I've always told artists what they need to do as far as their show and, you know, their presence and showing them that. I'm like, fuck it, I might as well do it. The shit sounding good, and it feels good. So we just started making music. You know, Tash is my brother. He's the best guitar player on the planet, and I say that really with confidence. And he actually almost died. He was dead, and he came back to life. He was in a car accident. And I've lost a lot of people. And he was one of those talented people that when he got in the car accident, I saw his brains out, and they were saying he would never play the guitar again. If he could wipe his ass in 6 months or in 3 years, he was like, he'd be lucky. And he got back on there, and it was just like if I could ever get with Biggie again or Aaliyah, I would cherish every moment. I would just be creative, and I would keep, you know, anytime I could get with him, I just, you know, nothing but fun. And this is that situation with him. So, you know, I get on we start jamming out, and I make records, we make songs, the instruments are popping, we like to do live shows. It's not for money, it's just because it feels good. But also I like to score all of my movies, and I take pride in saying that I also made the music, and like really made it, not curated. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, I just wanted to be a real artist as opposed to making money off artists. I guess like, you know, back then they'd be like, get off the stage, you want to be the artist? I'd be like, I don't want to be the artist. I guess I really did.
At this point, how do you balance creative Dame versus business Dame? Or are they one and the same at this point or intertwined?
I don't really do the business no more. My girl does it. She runs the company. You know, I'm like an employee now, you know, which you should be for your wife. You feel me? And my family. I work for my family. You know, I deal with things that I don't like to, but it's hard sometimes to be creative. That's one side of your brain, and be, you know, making business decisions, because in business you really shouldn't have any emotion. You're supposed to be calm. But when you're being creative, it's all emotion. You feel what I'm saying? So it is a hard balance. And that sometimes is the challenge when my bills are late. You know what I'm saying? Like if the bills is fucked up, that's when I care. But if I'm not having a timing issue, and I don't care about money.
Is that why you might say you have so much freedom within yourself?
100%. If I was a slave to a man-made dollar, it's like being a slave to a man. But I'm a slave for God's love, and I'm all right with that.
I saw you speak about, you made a comment I saw, which was, it was along the lines of, you know, respecting women is the closest thing to God. Can you speak on that just a little bit?
You know, just on the logical level, women create life and men really don't. They contribute, but they don't create, you know. And a man, to me, their job is to make sure a woman could create effortlessly. It's an art, and it's beautiful to watch. But also, dudes get jealous, as they should. Dudes are competitive with each other, you know. Any dude that sees someone that's a boss that don't want to be the boss, it's kind of hard to respect him as a real dude. You feel what I'm saying? It's like, Testosterone does that thing. It makes you competitive. But women, because they're creating life, they're not so jealous, of you. They want you to win because they know that when you win, they win, and they smell better.
I do definitely hear that. Going back to going back to film and everything, how Paid in Full, it can be deemed as the Black Godfather.
Thank you.
What would you have to say to something like that? And is that something you can maybe attest to?
I mean, that's quite a compliment. And I do know the impact it had on my culture because it was a real story. I saw it, and I know how hard I had to fight to get it done. I think everything I do, I look at it and compare myself to like whoever everyone thinks is great and say I'm gonna do that. But I'd rather be not the black version. I'd rather be better than the Godfather, period. You feel me? White or black Godfather. You know what I'm saying? So in that situation, I wasn't so much as in control as I wanted because I didn't put up the money. I had to go to war to get that movie, even where it was at. So much more I wanted to do with it, and so many different other perspectives I wanted to show. But I was fucking with a Weinstein. You know what I mean? So it wasn't the most fair situation. But that situation made me say I'll never put myself in that situation again. I'll need to make my own movie. No one will ever tell me that's not from my culture how to make a movie about my culture. That won't never happen. And that shit was heavy, that movie. Like, Cam got shot over that movie. You know what I'm saying? People really took that shit to heart. I had fights in the street over that shit, court and all that. So, it was a trigger because it was such a real movie, and there's more I'm, working on part 2 and the way I'm going to approach that. But it's going to be an art. There's so many different things that need to be stimulated, like the cars, the fashion, the music, the acting, the story, the structure. My mind is going crazy on how I'm going to actually do it, but I couldn't do it again until I did it on my own.
New Wave is a very independent media company, and that's definitely something that I personally, and I'm sure the people in the room can also attest to, is that we admire you for, is your independence. Is I'm not waiting for someone else to come and give me something. I'm going to go out and get it myself. In a time where, like you said, sometimes the bills are late and you have to balance surviving in order to create. What can you kind of say to that?
It's all part of the game, period. I'm constantly racing the storm. Logistics, things get tight. You know what I mean? But, I'm a rock star. I like it. I could sit and look at money, but, all you're going to do is pay taxes on it. People are going to try to steal it. So I like my money on the street. I like it working. I like creating things that are going to generate residual income.
So speaking of generating things, you're also very big. You're going into the Metaverse. Can you speak on that endeavor?
Yeah, I think the Web3 space is important. I got my land on Netfork because of the utilities and things it could do. And I think it's important that us as a culture are literate in the Web3 space because that's where the world is going and we don't want to get left out. We don't want another culture to control the narrative. And I'm not talking about a black or white thing. It's digital. It's about like a creative and about corporate. So, when it's static, which is a picture that doesn't move of a monkey, is the number one thing selling on Metaverse, I think that's a trigger for us as a culture. It's a turnoff for us, So we want to make sure the language is in a way that inspires us, not turns us off, and that it's in a way we understand, so we don't need a middleman to explain it to us and to exploit, because that's where there's room to exploit when a creative doesn't understand, and they start paying people to do things that a creative doesn't want to do, and then that's when it gets kind of funky. And then also being able to track the transparency that comes with things being digitally tracked. So, you sell something, you resell it, then you get a piece. Like, when Kanye sells his sneakers and someone resells it, you don't get none of that. In the art world, in the web space, you will always know when your shit is sold, and it'll go right to your pocketbook or your wallet. There's a lot of creative things you can do. Things in the web space are a lot cheaper to build. Like I have a museum in the web space, if the Dash NFT museum. So let's say I wanted to build a museum of that scale in the real world, it would cost a good $100 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's now like a vertical for everything that I do is something in the web space. So I do a movie, there'll be some representation in the web space or Web3 space. You know, when I do clothes, there'll be a wearable in the NFT world. When I do music, my job at the museum is to showcase how a creative can make money in every single way, from fashion to video game to music to art to sports, all of it. And another thing is, you know, where people can get together all over the world without physically having to be smelling anyone's breath or catching anyone's coat. You know what I'm saying?
From what you just said, I think coming together and uniting is a very big part of your endeavors, and fighting for love, like you mentioned. You know, so I guess, you know, what's the next thing you want to fight for?
I think the sports, you know,
You're buying a football team.
yeah. Well, we're doing a league, I think.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to get to. And, you know, that's an issue for me, that there isn't so much ownership of sports by our culture, but most of our culture is playing. And again, who pays you, right? The owner's box. And that means that whoever the owner is paying might have to be like, yo, they might look at him like that's their master. You feel me? As my owner. And there's no black people to look at all, especially in like American football. There's no black owners at all, and that shit is flagrant. You know what I'm saying? And it's obvious. So to me, like, professional sports is like almost the most old school form of racism that I've seen, and flagrant. Like we on the field getting hurt while they looking at us and getting all the money and laughing at it. And we're expendable, like, you know, pieces of like a toy or something. And then the way most people get treated, so not everybody gets that LeBron James lick. You know, you have to become legendary, but the average person, they're done in their 30s, and there's not many things for them to do after that, and they're in pain, they're injured. There's just no ownership, there's no equity in anything that they are doing. And I think that should change. So my thing is not to start, and I think like if we own a league, we'd approach it a little more fun. So I want to create not the Negro League, but I want to call it the We Grow League. And it's not just a league that is for black or white people, it's just a league that's predominantly owned by our culture. So we need to see what things look like when we're the landlords. It doesn't mean we only going to be good and look out for black people. We're going to look out for everybody. You know what I'm saying? But we're programmed to think that we can only run our own culture, that we can only inspire only the people with the same color skin as us, but they can still run us. You ever seen a black man in charge of white music? Definitely see a white man in charge of black music. There's even a title called black music. You ever seen a title called white music?
I haven't, no.
So why is there black music?
Speaking of boxes, you're definitely one for breaking out of boxes. You know, going back to freedom, you've got the freedom dance and things like that. With Be Inspired coming up, I guess what are you looking for in London now? You know, you said you're open for business. You want to see who's doing what. Is there anything in particular, or are you just open to everything?
I mean, the things that I have right now, I'd like to distribute them out here and then create the British version of them, or at least a collaborative effort of the things that I'm good at. But I don't know what I'm looking for that I haven't found yet. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing particular I'm looking for. I just look to be inspired. But I can't schedule what inspires me. You know what I mean? Like, I know that if you're a good musician, I'm going to enjoy watching. Or if you're a good boxer or fighter, I'm definitely going to be a fan. Or, you know, you're a good artist. But I never know when those people are going to come in my life. And if they don't, I'm not like, oh, shit, I didn't run into nobody. Because I'm an artist myself. Basically, I'm coming out to promote and figure out how to distribute and find like-minded people to work with. But I don't know what that is.
I have no doubt that you'll find it. Thank you very much for your time, Dame Dash. My name's Arenma. That was Dame Dash. We're here at 180 Strand with New Wave Magazine. Thank you.